Good day. Welcome to Ask Amy About Aging. This is Aging Maven aficionado Amy K. Gaskin, and I'm joined once again with Elaine, certified dementia practitioner and author of I Will Never Forget. So thank you, Elaine, and welcome back. So we're going to talk about tips on communicating with loved ones with memory loss, and I'm very excited about this topic today. So welcome, Elaine. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So I'm an occupational therapist before I retired, but I've maintained my licensure. The book, I Will Never Forget, is my mother's journey through Alzheimer's. And as we have talked before, I made a lot of unwitting mistakes until a cascade of events brought me clarity. Fortunately, other people were looking out for her best interest while I finally got on board. But the segment today is about ways to communicate. So before I enter into that, I'll go back to you, Amy, and see if you want to do a lead in. So you have some great stories.
Yeah, well, what I was really excited about is everyone makes mistakes. And as a caregiver, you're going to make mistakes. And you have to forgive yourself for those mistakes and step back, regroup, get time away, have other people watch your mom and stuff as well to give you a break. But you are going to make mistakes, and it's okay. Even the best people in the world make mistakes. But today, Elaine is going to give us tips on communicating. When someone has memory loss, you have to be very specific. So I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Well, first of all, please keep in mind that Alzheimer's is a real neurological disease, and even dementia, which is sort of this nebulous cluster of memory loss and confusion and that doesn't necessarily have a real clear diagnosis. Nevertheless, it is a neurological based situation. And as such, even though that person, in this case, we'll use mom as an example because that was my situation, a parent, even though they don't look different, they're not in a wheelchair, they're not limping, they are exhibiting real changes as the brain is deteriorating. We don't like that word, but that's what's happening.
It's happening.
That's what's happening. And what affects the first is the deterioration of language. It is that part of the brain, the hippocampus, that is first affected by Alzheimer's specifically, and most dementias as a cluster.
Right.
So we are the only species that really has communication. Dolphin sonar and all those signs and everything else, they're impressive, but they are not real reciprocal communication. And I want to add here that if you ask someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, well, actually, if you ask anybody, how are you doing? And the response is fine, or something like that, or a yes, no question. Those are not real communication. Those are considered robotic, rote responses. They've processed, how are you? They've processed that as one little word, actually, and the response is fine, even though they may not be. Real reciprocal communication is I say something, and the person I'm speaking with has the capacity to process what I said, formulate an appropriate response, and actually execute it with language.
Right.
And that short-term loop is very brisk in the normal, non-affected individual. I don't like normal, but non-affected individual.
Right.
And someone with Alzheimer's, as it's developing, and dementia, that loop is affected because the part of the brain that processes that language so fast is deteriorating slowly.
I heard so much about music being a very important part of memory loss, and music can calm someone down or make them remember something, and involving all five senses in general. Like smells can help us bring back memories, right?
Yes. So Yes, I talk a lot about when I do presentations about communication through the senses.
Mm-hmm.
Our skin is our largest organ, and
Right.
as such, it communicates positive touch in a way that nothing else can, not words, nothing. Our other senses are hearing, but then many people, as they age, have diminished hearing. It's kind of
Right.
typical. Vision, smell, so olfaction, and taste. Sometimes a memory will be but it's not recent. It'll be more past, will be triggered in a positive way by smelling something or tasting something. But in general, language itself, words are falling away in terms of good, reliable communication. But
Right.
the other senses are still available. Music is so effective in calming people, it taps a different part of the brain. So
Right.
chances are actually singing to someone that you would like them to put their pajamas on is probably not going to be successful because you're
Right.
trying to couch in a command while
Yeah.
you're singing it. But the point is that music, especially songs from the era of that individual, are very becalming and they participate. It's a different center of the brain than is short-term memory.
Right.
My mother was deaf. So, but for her and for many, in my opinion, touch is the most powerful nonverbal cue.
Right. I would
You can communicate so much through touch.
I remember one story that I read. It was a video on LinkedIn, and it just kind of blew me away. It was this daughter on her wedding day, and she was all dressed up in her wedding gown, and they got dad all dressed up, and he was just sitting there, and everyone was in the backyard, ready for the wedding, and she went up to her father, and he just told her how pretty she was, didn't recognize her at all. And he says, "Are you getting married today?" And she says, "Yes." And so then she says, "Can you come with me? I want to show you something." And she went out to the patio in the back and had him sit again and had him paint things that they used to do when they were little. And so he painted for 3 or 4 minutes, looked up, called her by name, and said, "Oh, did I miss your wedding?" And she says, "No, Dad, it's right now." And he says, "Oh, Jill, I can't wait to walk you down the aisle." And she says, "Dad, let's go." So she brought him back into the moment and back into reality. And he was able to walk her down the aisle. And she had that 3 minutes of wonderfulness right when she needed it most. And that's something she's going to remember forever.
Yes, good for her. That was it was amazing. I'm
Yeah, I
glad
don't know
she
how she
wasn't.
came up with it, but
I don't know, but I'm sure she gave it
lot of,
considerable thought ahead of
yeah,
time in the hopes of tapping what would work for him. And
yeah,
that's the key, is tapping what works. You know your parent better than anyone else, better than any professional caregiver, no disrespect at all.
right,
But you know those subtle things. It's why, maybe it's a stuffed animal that mimics the petting motion of a cat
right,
for that person. I mean, there are so many possibilities. Think a minute, what works for them? Maybe it is a fragrance that opens doors for a short time. And I'm sure people are intelligent who are listening, who realize we're not going to just put lilacs under somebody's nose and they're going to be able to speak in full
remember they grew
yeah,
their garden in their backyard.
right.
No,
My mom's longest 15-word, totally spontaneous 2 months sentence, 2 months before she ultimately passed away, was also on the day that the kitchen baked bread. And we all know that is the most captivating,
yep,
intoxicating fragrance just about in the food industry.
yep,
So, was there a connection? I think so.
yeah. So and I wish more caregivers would capture some of those clear moments, especially if someone's in a senior living community or a memory care center. Imagine mom, telling a story about how she had two sons and one of them broke a lamp and she never knew which one broke the lamp, so she punished both of them. And no, and to this day she doesn't know who broke the lamp. And a caregiver recorded that story, and it went out through the portal to the adult children, and the adult daughter said, oh, I got to put this on there. And the brothers hadn't talked for 30 years.
Oh my.
And now the brothers get a story, get a video of mom talking about the day that they broke a lamp. And they both started commenting on it back and forth. They got together that weekend and flew in to see mom. And the brothers hadn't seen each other or talked for 30 years. They don't even remember what they fought about, but
they don't either.
And they don't either. Yeah, but the mom brought them back together, but the caregiver was the person that did, because the caregiver got that moment of clarity and captured it for the family member. And now they have that forever.
The other part of communication that's important is nonverbal cues.
Okay.
If you want your mom to come with you, put your hand out in addition to the simple words, because those links are relatively universal. So you can supplement what direction you're giving or what communication theme you're on with an appropriate nonverbal cue. Put them together.
Right.
The other part of verbal communication, keep what you say simple, clear. Try to exclude humor, laughing, raised voice. Try to keep everything at a relatively constant volume and facial expression, so that if you do have your mom's attention, if she is able to concentrate on the words, she's not also being distracted by all your flailing hands like I'm doing, or your eyes rolling, or whatever else is going on. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of energy being expelled. And the individual with Alzheimer's, they don't have any reserve. When they lose something, they were not going to get it back in most cases. So it is unfortunate. It is a deterioration. I get that. It's hard. I've been there. However, the child loved one focus is on setting aside the past for the moment, meeting the needs of that day, and thinking about where that person's headed, and just take each win when they come.
Right. Just enjoy the wins and don't dwell on the things that you accidentally say the wrong thing, because you can step that back and come back, but you need to center yourself and be calm and make sure everything is one step at a time. Put that top on. Well, that's not one step.
No.
Go bring me that, go get the comb from the bathroom. That's not one step.
No. Matter of fact, even just getting the comb, if you can do it in one step, you can say, get the comb. But if it's not right in front of them, it's lost in translation. Even if there is a mild intent on their part to stand up and go get something.
Exactly.
If bring the comb, the chances are they will probably still mimic what a comb is used for.
Yeah. And the same thing is, dehydration is, and sometimes they're not thirsty, but you need to have them drink, and getting them to drink, you almost have to hand them the glass and say, oh, here's some water, and almost show them how to use it, oh, I'm thirsty, and then give it to them to use, because they don't know that they have to, drink, and dehydration is real.
Yes. And it exacerbates dementia and other health issues. Definitely. Good point.
Any other tips for communicating when things are going not so well?
Just pack your patience, use less words, and the words that you do use, don't set up your loved one for failure by asking them who they are. I know as kids, we all want mom to remember that our name is Elaine.
Right.
But you can tell them, Mom, it's your daughter, Elaine. How are you? And that is about it. Going on and on and on after that is not helpful. They may, for that second, they may repeat it. They probably do. This research says this comments, they don't know me. The research says that they do. But clearly, They lack the language, and that will continue to decline in order to express that. So provide them with the words, especially nouns, that they need.
Nouns and pronouns too, I'm sure, because that can be very confusing. And this topic, I think we could go on for forever. So I
Oh,
do,
yes.
I
Yes.
do hope you come back on to talk a little bit deeper about this topic. But thanks again for coming on today. Any
You're
final
welcome.
words before we sign off?
No, just try to think before you speak, so to speak, about absorb what I have said, what you have learned, keep it simple, keep it clear, supplement with nonverbal and through the senses. You stay with those, you'll have a chance at a smoother, less frustrating interaction.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better. Again, this is Aging Maven aficionado Amy K. Gaskin talking with Elaine, author of I Will Not Forget.
I will never.
I will never forget. That's right. I'm sorry. I will never
It is
forget.
just fine.
Yes. And she is a certified dementia practitioner, and she's just amazing. So thanks again, Elaine, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Okay, thank you.